Don't know if this is gonna. Here we go. Testing. Seems to be working. Hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me. I think I could hear myself pretty well. Sorry about the ads. I think it kicked off, gave me an ad too. When I went to do my little testing thing. But anyways, just kicking this off like 10 minutes early, like I usually do. That way, the red light goes on. People know I'm live, and helps people file in a little bit. That way, they don't miss the beginning of the story. Not that this won't be repurposed like all the others and uploaded later. But yeah. All right, a little bit quiet. Let me see if I can fix that. How's this? Is it a little bit better? Okay. All right, cool. I'm like moving the microphone just a little bit closer. Sorry about the ad, Warrior Princess. Awesome. Very glad you can hear me, X. Thank you very much, guys, for coming and hanging out with me. Pre-partying a bit. Nino, nice to see you. Boggs, welcome. Super, super, super happy. Nino, it's all right that you can't stay, but hello. Hello, very, very welcome. And like I said, this stream will be left up. You can listen to it later, and I'm also will repurpose the story with, music and sound effects and all that stuff. Hello, Kim. Nice to see you. Glad you were able to stop in. Awesome. So we got, wow, pretty good showing so far. A lot of people have stopped in to hear me mess up my story a whole bunch of times. No pressure. I'm thinking about after this, too. I'll talk a little bit more about it also once the stream goes live. Going to read from the Locust Lake timeline a little bit. I might skip over some things that are for stories that have not been re-released yet. But I mean, all that stuff will be there on the website, so you can go ahead and see those blurbs if you want. But those stories will be making a reappearance very shortly. All the Locust Lake stories, beyond what was narrated on my old channel, I am hoping to have up and uploaded by the end of September. Again, it'll be talked a little bit more about once we start the stream, but hope everybody is a fan of Locust Lake, because this summer there will be a Locust Lake every other weekend, just so we can get the series up on to the channel. Lone Wolf, excellent. Nice to see you. Welcome. Very happy you were able to stop in. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Nightmare, welcome. Welcome. You are here to hear me mess up whole bunches of times. Looks like we've got about 6.5 minutes until we kick this thing off, officially. Just letting some people file in for 10 minutes, talking with you guys, saying hello to people coming in. Also want to remind everybody, and again, I'll do this once the stream kicks off again. The fan art contest ends this Sunday. So Monday, we're going to be looking at pictures, and then the following Sunday, I will release the winner, and we will get the ball rolling on the prizes getting sent out. Yes, that you did, Somber. That you did. You did do the countdown. I'm very, very happy to be here myself, Lone Wolf. A little bit nervous, but very happy that you came. Seriously and truly, sincerely, very, very happy you're here. Yep, Beautiful Nightmare, aka Charlie Blackmore. Well, thank you, Lone Wolf. I appreciate your faith too. How is everything coming through? No hiccups in the sound and stuff. I know sometimes when I download these things, I hear a lot of and stuff like that when I'm reading, and it makes it hard to piece it back together for a viable upload, repurposed upload. I have just about everything on the computer. Awesome. Yeah, the picture is a bit dark though. Yeah, I know, a little bit. Can't read with the mask on. And it's just easier for me to respond and talk to people and stuff like that. When I don't have the mask on, I will make sure to have an appearance though. I do have the camera all set up. I got my backdrop set up, and I got my mask right here with me. We'll also be pulling out the live stream, or not the live stream, the contest mask too. Once we talk about the contest a little bit more. That's true. It has been a while since you were able to make it to a live stream, Kim, but I'm very happy and glad that you were able to make it to this one. Sorry, I kind of squished a whole bunch of words together there. Hi, Josie. Nice to see you. Glad you were able to make it. Jose Medina, welcome, my friend. Yes, the mask does have air holes. That was something I kind of did on purpose. You should make sure you have air holes in yours too. They don't have to be super large. They could just be there for the purposes of being there. But yes, it does have air holes. And this particular mask doesn't have the shaded over eyes too. So it does make it easier to see. But it does, make it so there's an eye reveal. Oh no, I've revealed my eyes. And the occasional eyebrow reveal. Yeah, air holes are kind of a must. I'm sorry. I'm a firm believer. And yes, once again, I am sporting my Locust Lake hoodie. I'm sure you will go ahead and you will notice that. I told you I was going to live in this thing. I'm so very happy I have it. Locust Lake Demon's Dozen will be out shortly. I actually just finished editing that today. So far, so good. There's one little piece in there that I'd like to go back in. I don't know if I forgot to add the line or if it's just spoken so quiet that it's underneath the music. So I'm just going to give that a quick fix and re-render. But that baby is ready to go. It was 104 voice lines to add in, and I played 4 people, so there was no voice lines for them. 104 voice lines, and there's 38 sound effects. The entire video with intros and outro is 47 minutes and 44 seconds long, something like that, almost 48 minutes. It's going to be a big one. What do we got here? What time is it? So we've got about 1 minute and 15 seconds before we kick this off officially. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I promise, Josie. Yes, I'm very happy that you're fighting the good fight, Queen. I'll keep you in my thoughts and in my prayers. But really happy at the way things have been going. It was 44 minutes and 41 seconds, Beautiful Nightmare, until I added the intros and the outro. The let's begin. And then, my little intro skit and then the outro skit and all that stuff turns it to just about 48 minutes long. But yes, the narration, the video itself is 45. Cool. Mama, hello. Welcome. Very much welcome. You made it to my live. Again, no pressure. Made it to a live stream. It's a big one. I'm telling you, bring popcorn when it releases. Okay. So it is 9:30. I would like to welcome you all officially to the February live stream, Leaving Thought from Home live stream. Slim Pickens. Go ahead and let's let's hope there's no wardrobe malfunctions here. Let's double check this thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're gonna fix something here before we do any mask reveals, because I don't like how these things are sitting. This glue is very old, and I don't trust it to just fall right off. And that would not be cool. I would be very, very upset if there was an accidental face reveal. So, all right, cool. So, this, there we are. Everybody, welcome to the Cleaving Thought from Bone live stream. Slim Pickens, really, really happy you were able to make it. Really happy my hair's not sticking up too much like alfalfa. A little bit there in the back. But yeah, so far, so good. Happy Friday, everybody. Mandy Mortem, welcome. Awesome. More people filing in. Hello, Lone Wolf. Yes, bit of an homage to my very, very favorite horror anything. Obviously, if I was going to do anything myself in horror content creation, this was going to just have to be part of it some way, somehow. No, you did not miss a face reveal. You missed me making sure my strap was tied down instead of glued to itself, because it had the original glue from the mask, and it's really old, and it peeled apart really easy. So I appreciate that. I do. But again, I mean, things happen. I'm sure if I'm doing this for another 20 years or so, eventually there'll be an accidental reveal somewhere. But try and keep the mystery alive as long as I can. Sorry, I am reading comments in the corner of the screen. So this is the face reveal. I told you, under the mask, it's a void, like a black hole. There's nothing there. These eyes, that's not even my eyes. It's actually part of the mask. Yeah, we have a few intrepid detectives in the group. just putting that out there. Sorry, absolutely. I love this hoodie. I'm just going to show this off one last time. These are available. Lots of Locust Lake merch, hoodies, t-shirts. Obviously the book. Absolutely love this thing. It's ridiculously comfortable. It's like wearing a freaking blanket all day long. I love this thing. Yeah, the mystery is fun. It also keeps me, away from interfering with various company standards in case I ever need to apply for a new job or something like that. And they check my social media account. They'll check my fake account, which has my real name. I call that my sham account. I don't really post anything on there. College degrees, had a win here, win there, work in a new place. Don't really update it very often. But that's the only account they'll find, because this is completely separate. That's one reason for this. Another reason, not everybody likes horror. Some people look pretty down upon it, so I do like to keep that separation a little bit. Threat of stalkers is always, it's a real thing. And I do have a family I want, and again, like you said, the mystery. So, well, thank you very much, Warrior Princess. I very much appreciate it. Yes, I gotta represent the merch. Especially if I live in it every chance I get. Cool. All right. So, do you also want to go ahead and talk about again the fan art contest? Does end this weekend. Sunday is the final day to go ahead and submit your drawings, your fan art, your renderings, whatever it is. This is the mask I have made up for the contest. And as you can see, it is signed on the inside, both as L.W.Suton and Sociopathic. Also comes with the Locust Lake book and the Locust Lake long sleeve t-shirt. So yeah, the Sunday's the final day for the contest, and then next Sunday I'll release an update video, and I'll go ahead and notify the winner and get to work on getting that merch out there to the lucky person who wins the contest. So, okay, I think that about covers the live action face stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and just turn the camera off. That way we can get rolling into the story, which I'm sure most of you are here to see, so, or listen to. The camera shield, aka clean black sock. You know, whatever works. And we point that thing downward too, just in case, because you can still see things. Ah, awesome. Man, I gotta hang the contest mask back up. Gotta keep it looking snazzy. Awesome. All right. So I'm also thinking too, after I read Slim Pickens, like I said, I like to keep these things going for about an hour long total. So I'm thinking after Slim Pickens, take a break, do a little Q&A. If you guys have any questions, comments, we could talk about the story, whatever. And then when that's done, I'm going to go ahead and we'll talk about this. I'm going to post that link right now. That is the website, the Cleaving Thought from Bone website that Doughboy was building to go along with the channel. We haven't really done a whole lot with it since year one, but there is some cool stuff on the website, including the Locust Lake timeline. So I'm probably going to read some of that tonight too after Slim Pickens. So I think that'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. Doughboy's got some really interesting stuff in there. So. And yes, Warrior Princess Dragon Kelchner, your story for the writing contest from last year is going to be a tidbit in March. So keep an eye out for that one. All right. So I'll go ahead. I'll give it another minute or two. Take a sip off something here. Obviously non-alcoholic. It's actually some flat soda because I don't want the carbonation to mess up my voice. And if you guys don't have any questions or anything for me, I'll go ahead and I will jump right into the story. But if you have something for me, go ahead and post it in the chat. Okay. So I do want to go ahead and apologize a little bit. I have been having some difficulties with my voice. Did a little bit of narrating earlier. I got through it okay. But if I do need to stop a little bit more often than usual, or I just mess up or whatever, I do apologize ahead of time. Usually when I read these stories for people who this is their first live stream, I usually read these stories and I mess up at least 20 to 25 times. And then I end up clipping those lines together and editing out all the parts where I messed up. Reading live, I don't have that option. So I will do my best to gracefully handle any mess ups that do happen, and just keep on moving on. Okay, after I'm going to hold you to that. Give me the question when I'm done reading. It sounds like a plan. All right. So I call this one Slim Pickens. Michaela struggled with her girth as she crouched down onto the kitchen floor and to her knees. She had made sure to drag the small plastic container of water and solvents with her, due to the increased difficulty of getting from place to place. She knew she was doing what she was told not to do, but she had to do something. Besides, she knew the danger to be minimal, and it was her body after all. If she overexerted herself, her body would likely inform her. She didn't plan on... What she didn't plan on was Brian returning home from work early that day. She'd heard the outer door of the porch open and shut just before hearing the jostling of the living room door. Just before hearing the jostling of the living room doorknob. Her husband locked the door each morning before work. Since she was the one who was left in charge of letting the dog out to the yard in the a.m., she knew it to be relocked after she had returned inside. The only person, other than herself, who had a key to that door was her husband. It was too late now. There in the open doorway stood Brian, looking past the living room and into the kitchen, his vision resting upon his wife's guilty face. "I told you that I would do that when I got home. The doctor said bed rest, Haley," Brian said, using the nickname that had been deemed to her for nearly the entirety of her life. There was no purpose in denial. The air was thick with the smell of chemicals that mimicked the scent of wine, and the incriminating plastic bucket sat beside her on the kitchen floor. Michaela was 8 months pregnant and had been deemed a high-risk pregnancy. This resulted in her physician to recommend what was basically nothing more than bed rest until she came to term. She was allowed to do menial tasks and take short walks, as long as she was accompanied, but certain duties, such as scrubbing the floor on her hands and knees with chemical solvents, were a big no-no. The couple had toyed with the idea of buying a mop, but since the square footage of the kitchen was representative of the entire apartment size, being minuscule, it boasted the only non-carpeted floor. The demand for a mop never seemed significant enough to warrant the subsequent purchase. While Haley explained that she couldn't help herself from getting up and doing something, driven nearly to madness with boredom, Brian contemplated buying a mop. Reluctantly, Michaela allowed her husband to escort her back to bed before Brian finished the tiny floor. Since the bed that they were using was currently a pull-out couch in the living room, she had constant access to in-home entertainment. She was able to watch her husband finish up the task that she had started. She enjoyed being pregnant, but in a way, she couldn't wait for it to be over, just so she would be allowed to do things around her apartment again. She listened to what her husband said and stayed in bed, aside from homeostatic demands to use the bathroom for the rest of the night. But when he left for work the next day, she would get back to her old tricks and do a few more odd chores that needed attending to, just to keep herself occupied. By the time she had opened her eyes the following day, the sun was already peeking in through the window, signifying that Brian had already left for work. Michaela stretched in bed, watching about 5 minutes of television, and then decided to make her way towards the bathroom. The bathroom wasn't far. The apartment was extremely small. It was the one-bedroom place with... It was a one-bedroom place, with the bathroom only accessible by crossing through that bedroom. As she entered the bathroom, she glanced down at the dingy box of miscellaneous stuff on the floor. It was compiled of presumably useless refuse left behind by the previous owners, hidden in the black of the back bedroom closet. By the time she was finished in the lavatory, she was determined to look through it. She wasn't expecting to find anything significant, only rummaging through the junk to waste time. Although she shouldn't have, Haley wrestled with the moderately sized box as she carted it back into the living room with her. The majority of it was useless paperwork, consisting of mostly old junk mail. There were a few broken Christmas ornaments, a very heavily worn-out brush, but it was the old photo album that caught her interest. She found herself wondering why the previous tenants would decide to leave it behind. Maybe it was unintentional, she thought to herself. She recalled how the landlord informed them that the people who abandoned the place had done so in a hurry. When they asked him why, he seemed reluctant to tell them, saying they experienced a loss and moved away. Before the couple could reply, they had already begun speaking about better things the small place had to offer. They never really knew anything about the previous occupants of their apartment, but Michaela now held a small window into their lives. As she flipped through the first few pages, she saw a young family, a woman, a man, and a boy, each with yellow hair, performing various activities and posing for particular photo ops in what looked to be like a multitude of locations, most of which seemed to teem with what appeared to be tourists, as most of the photos were of obvious family vacations. After a while, the pages diverted to hold nothing but a single picture of what she believed to be their child. On the last page, that had any photographs on it, was a single picture of the previous couple, a distant look of sadness on their faces, standing in front of their apartment, a moving truck in the parking lot nearby, their son nowhere to be seen. Michaela began to wonder if maybe they had somehow lost their child. Why would they leave this book behind, full of photos? Maybe some queer testament to their child's previous life? What a morbid thought, Haley scolded herself. She stood up to place She stood up to place the book back into the box from which she had retrieved it, and as she stood and went to bend over, her girth caused her balance to shift, and the album dropped to the floor instead of the cardboard box. As she bent down a little further to pick it back up, something in one of the photographs caught her attention. There was something in the background that she had not noticed previously, something that now coaxed an unnatural feeling of anxiety and fear to surface from within her. The picture was that of the trio, wife, husband, and son, standing in front of a large waterfall at what could have been a state park. The forested area was littered with the occasional tourist lingering about the backdrop, but there was someone or something else there as well that hid amongst the trees in the background. It looked so much like them, she at first mistook the shape to be one of those trees. But it was its unmistakable, bald, faceless head that jarred it into form. It appeared to be inhumanly tall. He seemed to be wearing a black business suit, but his legs and arms were absurdly long and assisted in blending it with the trees that surrounded it. The most shocking aspect of this creature is that it didn't seem to have a face, just a blank substrate of a pale, white flesh. Just a blank substrate of pale, white flesh, where one should have been. Michaela tried to push the notion aside as just some coincidence of light playing tricks with camera lenses, that is, until she focused on the picture below it. It was a picture of the family at some kind of amusement park or carnival. Among the crowd behind them, the same tall figure loomed over top of them from a distance. Haley slammed the book shut. She could feel an unsettling feeling rising up from within her soul, and she felt it best to just try and put the whole thing aside, box it all. Wiping her brow, she began to saunter towards the close-by kitchen to make herself something to eat. The fridge was just beyond the doorway, viewable from the couch, but a dark shadow in the corner of her eye prompted her attention as she crossed through the threshold. She turned her head, and there was nothing there. She could almost feel the eyes upon her, but there simply wasn't anything there. Haley made haste in preparing some food, which mainly consisted of pie ever since the start of her third trimester. And decided it best to maybe sit as her doctor had ordered her to do, bringing the food with her. Throughout the day, the daytime television, the napping, and trips back and forth to the bathroom, she couldn't get rid of that sensation. She saw nothing, experienced nothing paranormal, but consistently felt as though she was being watched. Michaela thought of calling a few people here and there throughout the day just to help ease her mind, but everyone she knew happened to be at work. Her anxiety Her anxiety kept building right up until the moment Brian came home from work. In fact, she'd become so worked up, she even questioned whether or not it was her husband, that maybe it was an intruder, ignoring the fact that there was only one other key. Relief washed over her as Brian walked in from the enclosed porch and into the living room, taking off his hat. He asked her about her day, and she told him nothing about what she found, even going to certain measures to hide that she touched the box at all. But he could sense her unease. Brian made a small dinner for the two of them and popped in an old comedy on VHS to help lighten the mood. The VCR hadn't been used in years, and the tape was even older than the machine, so, although having to adjust the tracking a bit, it was perfectly watchable. It made for a poor quality viewing by modern standards. Michaela's dread subsided. Her husband's presence served as a constant reassurance. Brian stood up from his side of the couch bed, walking around in front of the TV to get a drink, and as he passed by the TV, he asked Haley if she wanted anything. The tracking on the video began to obscure the bottom of the screen a bit, but she really didn't notice it at first, as she was looking at Brian, replying that she wanted some cookies from the cupboard. It was when he disappeared into the kitchen, out of sight, that she finally noticed the diminishing quality of the video, now jumping and flashing with static. In one of the flashes, she could have sworn that she'd seen something barely distinguishable within the screen fuzz. It may have been passed over if it had not gathered more discernible features in the next subsequent flash. Michaela's fear returned tenfold, as within each flash, lingering for only a fraction of a second, the figure seemed to get closer and closer to the screen from within the television. Once the black suit and tie, worn by a hideously malformed, faceless man, became too discernible to deny, Michaela let out a powerful shout. Brian came rushing to her side. Haley sobbed for a moment and said nothing for a few more, and then lied to her husband by telling him that she had seen a hideous spider, fearing that he would think her crazy. She allowed him to search for the proclaimed arachnid for a while before telling him that it had likely disappeared when she shrieked. Haley reasoned to herself that she must have imagined it. It took a while to convince herself of something that her eyes couldn't dispute, but given her condition, mild hysterical episodes could possibly be related to stress. As much of a stretch as it was, it seemed more rational than the latter. After another movie, and once again attaining a sense of security, Haley would eventually drift off to sleep with her husband. It was the odd noise that awakened her to consciousness. She didn't see anything. She didn't hear anything. Nothing after what had woke her up and excuse me. Nothing after what had woke her up in the first place. Since the initial sound is what had roused her, it was muffled and indecipherable to her waking ears. In fact, Haley surmised that she had woken up on her own. She attempted to sleep once again, but a nagging thirst beckoned at the back of her throat. Having her unease being shaken off a long time ago, she was uninhibited from proceeding to the kitchen to quench her thirst. When she turned on the light, she saw a dark mass in the corner of her eye yet again, just in sight of the just in sight of her peripheral vision. Only this time, when she looked, there was something there. It was tall, menacing, and faceless. Haley went out to cry for help, but as the thing outstretched its inhumanly long arms, she felt a desire to do so. Leave her. Haley took one step forward before her world went instantly black. A loud, blood-curdling shout forced Brian to a panic-stricken sitting position, holding... let me do that one again. A loud, blood-curdling shout forced Brian to a panic-stricken sitting position, jolting him from sleep. He immediately noticed that the kitchen light was on, and his wife screaming loudly from somewhere within it. Brian jumped to his feet and clambered to the kitchen archway. His flesh drained of color as his eyes widened, pupils dilating and jaw going slack, before covering it with two shaking hands. Haley was sitting upon the linoleum floor, covered in the same crimson that surrounded her in a pool. She was covered from the waist down in blood. Brian's fears were reasonable in their convictions, but the doctor's diagnosis would only leave them with more questions. But Haley already knew. She knew before the ambulance that brought her to the hospital was even called. She knew it as soon as she had regained consciousness. That thing had stolen her baby. And that is Slim Pickens. Sorry about all those screw-ups. I will say this. My voice didn't give me as much trouble as I thought it would, but this little kitten on freaking crack is giving me more trouble than I thought he would. So that's my excuse. I hope you guys like Slim Pickens. Again, I will have this re-edited, hopefully pretty well, and put up, I'm thinking Sunday or Monday. That way we can give Saturday's story a chance to jellify. Awesome. Really happy that thank you ISB, thank you Warrior Princess. Really happy you guys liked this. Devane, awesome. I saw that you popped in. Very, very happy that you were able to be here, and I'm very happy that you liked the story. Thank you, Mama, very, very much. All right, man, totally cool. Thanks. Yeah, like I said, the repurposed version of this will be up hopefully by the end of the weekend, and yeah, there's a video coming out tomorrow as well. Dreamscape Part 5, The Madness. That's the finale of the first Dreamscape series. So forget to tune in for that as well. But yeah, thank you so very much. I'm gonna give my throat a rest here for a second. Whew. Thank you, Josie. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Somber. Thank you very much. Like I said, I didn't know how this one would be received. I wrote this one a long time ago, and I don't think I ever released it. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I think it was definitely worth a read. So cool. I'm glad that everybody else liked it. That's my main point. Like, I was a little bit nervous, but I'm always nervous when I'm kind of putting something of mine out there. So thank you very much. Thank you, Beautiful Nightmare. And by the way, you said you had a question after the reading, so I'm waiting. Oh, be right back in 1 moment. Didn't forget about you. Give me 1 more second. And by the way, thank you, Wrath, aka Ethan Blades, for the A+ rating. But yeah, cool. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into the next thing here in a second. Just again, another friendly reminder: contest ends, blah blah blah. Get your fan stories in. Was there anything else I wanted to cover today? Oh yes, that was the other thing. Speaking of Locust Lake timeline, before we get into the timeline, hold on. Do we have any interesting stories coming out aside from Locust Lake and Dreamscape? Are you talking about series or stories? There is, yes, and I think I know what you're getting at here, Beautiful Nightmare, because Beautiful Nightmare now co-writes for the channel. If you guys haven't noticed, she does the Thursday tidbits. So I share a lot of inside information with her. So she's right. I mean, there is an awful lot to talk about on the channel now. I know a lot of you here have probably seen Two Friends at Freddy's, my Five Nights at Freddy's story. I am currently writing a sister location story. My daughter Shiloh is super huge into lore, like the FNAF lore. Give me 1 second. Need a light. So basically, while I was planning this out, I had her go through the lore with me and explain things and elements that I should put in it. So she actually helped me collaborate in the production of the story, and I'm setting it up for a third one, which will be basically around FNAF VR slash part 4, kind of combination of those two. So there is basically a FNAF trilogy being written right now as we speak. So that's coming. There's also, I know what you're getting into. I'm saving it. I guess I was going to save this for last, but I think I should talk about Locust Lake last. I am coming out with Soft Flesh 3. Krampus Claus 3 is already written for this Christmas. There is another series coming out, not just Dreamscape Series 2 and then the Dreamscape Series 3. There's a Dreamscape book that's going to be released, I'm hoping within like a month or so. But we are currently, Doughboy 420, I, and Charlie Blackmore are all working on a mythos, like Dreamscape or Capes or Locust Lake, called Lawson's Lament. So expect that new series to be coming to the channel soon as well. There's going to be a pretty large mythos, is the idea. So very similar to the way that Locust Lake is set up. Might not be a series as such to start, but might wrap into a grander saga as it goes on and then gets fleshed out from there. But yes, that's going to be co-written by Doughboy 420, myself, and Charlie Blackmore. And the first story for that mythos is actually going to be co-written by all three of us. It's actually the last part of it is being written now. Also, Rachel Lang. Hey, I'm glad able to make it. And yes, it's okay. And Breath of the Wild is it's still an amazing game. Also want to talk about the Locust Lakes now a little bit. Like I said, I hope you guys like Locust Lake, because this summer there will be a Locust Lake story released every other week. So it'll be a Locust Lake and then something else, and then a Locust Lake and then something else, then a Locust Lake. So it's going to be Locust Lake a lot, and then it's going to be Locust Lake once a month leading up to that point. And then I'm thinking June through September, about 4 months of every other weekend Locust Lake. I'd like to get it wrapped up by September because there is something super secret coming to you this October, currently being worked on. And no, I cannot reveal that. But when the Locust Lake series is ended, all those stories will also be released in a book called Legacy of Locust Lake, and it will have several exclusives included in it that will not be narrated. So might want to check that out. There'll be more information about that to come. It will be larger than the original book. The original book, Legends of Locust Lake, had like 13 stories in it. This is going to have probably closer to 18, maybe 20. So it will be considerably of greater size. Like I said, Dreamscape book is coming out soon as well. I'm hoping to have that released by the time I get Series 2 up and running, so that way I can promote the book with Series 2 and Series 3 as I narrate the stories that are not exclusives. And then I'm also hoping by the end of the year to release Restless Remains, which is another anthology horror book that I am currently, actually is already done, just needs to be edited. It's completely written, just needs to be edited. So I'm hoping to have 3 more book releases this year. So more info to come on that. But yeah, there is lots and lots of great stuff coming. So hang on to your horses. We are just getting started. Yeah, Lawson's Lament. I am very excited as well, and it's coming along that first story is coming along beautifully. That's all I can really say. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just finish this this smoke. And I know I don't really smoke anymore. I vape, but I need to change my coil. My vape tastes like burnt feet. So I'm gonna smoke this cigarette, and then maybe after this stream, I'll change my coil out. After this smoke, I will go ahead and get into the Locust Lake complete timeline, starting with unknown date, but somewhere between 1500 and 1650. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to post that link again. If you guys want to take a look with me while I'm reading, if you're on your phone, I know you can't do that, but you know what I mean. But yeah, if you're on your computer, you can always pull it up on a different tab. Doughboy went ahead and started making a timeline for all the stories that we had released on my old channel on this new website. Part of the reason was because it's really cool, and part of the reason is it helped me and him remember the order. And then also when we went back to redo these, there are a few changes that we made to better fit some of the stories within their time frame. Specifically, You Shouldn't Be in the Black Woods. The cell phone was changed from a track phone to a Nokia to fit the time period of when that story is supposed to take place. So there were small changes made as the timeline got completed to help the continuity make a little bit more sense. But that was like the secondary reason why he put it up here. But he put some really interesting stuff, some great summaries about these stories. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how Nightmare ends the Lawson's Lament, because how we do it is we all kind of pre-plan some things, some common elements that we want to keep between each other, parts that we want to write ourselves. I kind of set up the order. I set up who was going to do first, second, and third. I did the premise of the story, the intro, and did a setup. I'll let Doughboy take care of the scenes and some interesting situations, and I am going to let and Beautiful Nightmare has control of the end of it. Charlie Blackmore is writing the conclusion, basically however she wants. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this story turns out. But so far, I mean, it blends really, really, really well. And she's just about done with it already. So expect Lawson's Lament to be a thing coming soon to Cleaving Thought from Bone near you. Okay, so let's jump into this Locust Lake timeline for a few minutes. Locust Lake complete timeline. Unknown date between 1500 and 1650. This is the origin story, origins of Locust Lake. A 12-year-old native girl of the Susquehannock tribe is assaulted and murdered by two young men of a neighboring tribe during a time of peace known as the Festival of Reason. The pain and agony of the child's mother taints the land and the waters of the lake. Okay. I want to make sure that we don't... Okay, yep. And then unknown date between 1500 and 1650, 12 years later, still part of the same story. Following the Festival of Reason comes the curse. The following Festival of Reason comes, and the curse is already in full swing. The woman's rage is unending, and she begins to kill indiscriminately. She has become the cursed woman of the water that the tribes would later call Akanifti Oniga. Cool. And then we're going to skip over some things here because there's stories that have not come out yet. 1787, in the state of Pennsylvania, meeting Penn's Wood is founded. 1814, a formerly nameless lake becomes Locust Lake, named after the locusts that would swarm the area from time to time. I'm going to check back at the chat of the live stream. Actually, let's do this. I can pull this tab down, minimize a bit, and I should be able to see. Yeah, perfect. Now I can see comments. Open your textbooks. Yes, open your textbooks to the history of Locust Lake. 1918, St. Catherine's Children's Home, a Catholic-run orphanage, is built near the lake. Mid-1920s, a child by the name of Casper is left on the orphanage's doorstep. He is malformed and covered with tumor-like growths. The head nun, by the name of Catherine Stoical, gives the child her last name and cares for him, knowing that no one would want to adopt such a child. Casper is an artistic child. He loves to paint and create crafts. Other children tease the poor boy for how he looks, which causes him to lash out in anger. This only results in Catherine believing the boy to be a demon possessed. She sought to rid the boy of the evils within him by giving him a baptism in the healing waters of the lake. Unfortunately, the boy struggles and tears his face open on the jagged rocks within the water, and within 30 seconds he goes limp as the cursed waters fill his lungs. His body is never found, and everything is hidden from the children at St. Catherine's. Mid-1920s, children go missing from the orphanage and it mysteriously burns down. 1983. A young teenager by the name of Jacob Treagle is beaten by 3 bullies. They believe him to be dead, so they toss him in the trunk of an old car and roll him down a hill to hide their crime. Jacob was still alive, however, and the wreckage of the car had caused the gas to spill out and a spark to ignite it, burning poor Jacob alive inside the car's trunk. 1985. The distraught parents of Jacob Treagle mysteriously disappear after living for years as hermits after the death of their child, Jacob. 1992. A couple named Eric and Natalie buy the land to build a new home for themselves, along with several cabins forming a camp at Locust Lake. Eric would be murdered by the vengeful Jacob Treagle, a monster in a trench coat who wore a torn-up shirt as a mask to cover his burnt face. Natalie would be forced to live with knowing her husband didn't make it, but she did. So, 1983 to 1992 is all the Stony Heart of the Black Woods, and mid-1920s to the next mid-1920s. In the 1920s is when the Drowned Boy takes place. 1992, the same week that Eric and Natalie had their thing and Eric died. 1992, same week. A teenager by the name of Todd Jacobs takes a trip with his friends to Locust Lake. So the Drowned Boy actually skips over all that and then continues in 1992, the same week. So it's a backstory of what happened in the 1920s, but the story itself takes place in 1992. A teenager by the name of Todd Jacobs takes a trip with his friends to Locust Lake in search of the local legend of Casper Stoical. Todd Jacobs is the only survivor. All of his friends are massacred. The police charge him with the murders of his friends and the murder of Eric. He becomes the new boogeyman for the area, and he is soon sentenced to life in prison. 1994. So 2 years later, a group of college kids make a trip to Locust Lake. They're warned by a young local girl. All of them, including the young girl, are murdered by Jacob Treagle. The local girl who is murdered is the niece of Ray Bob. So that's You Shouldn't Be in the Black Woods, takes place in 1994. 1995, an older couple buy the campground around Locust Lake and open it to the public, not knowing any history of the area. These are the people, I believe, that are going to name it just a gosh darn camp. So there's no story about that, but that's when they took the camp over. And then 1996. So a young couple had taken over the campground to go on vacation and requested that one of their sons come and fix the place up and get ready for the camping season. The son comes with his wife and 3 daughters, along with a few of their friends. The man living down the road is murdered, which leads police to the campground nearby. There, police find nearly everyone dead, except for a baby girl crying alone, hidden away in one of the cabins. A girl named Shiloh. That is Shiloh's origin story. Takes place in 1996, The Silence of Locust Lake. 1996, later that year, Todd Jacobs escapes from prison for the first time. He returns to Locust Lake in an attempt to stop the evil there. However, more people die, and Todd Jacobs is recaptured and sentenced to death. Now that's Locust Lake Journal, Locust Lake the Journal. the one that just came out at the beginning of January. So that's the beginning of Todd Jacobs' journal. 2006, Locust Lake is renamed to just a gosh darn camp. Wow, so this is like 10 years later after that, and is reopened under new management. Okay. So 2008, late fall, Casper Stoical unknowingly hitches a ride in an RV, killing both of its occupants, which brings him into the nearby small town of Halstead, also referred to as Hellstead by some of the locals. Several people are murdered on the mountain overlooking the town. That would be Lookout. Brought a couple people up there this past summer, showed them that actual location, followed by a massacre and a fire at the local pub. Casper soon finds a 12-year-old Shiloh who is babysitting for one of the townspeople. The child's mother saves both her son and young Shiloh, but is killed when both her and Casper fall over the side of the bridge that span the gap across the Susquehanna River. Winter quickly sets in. So that's leaving Locust Lake. 2008. It's hi PA. I'm sorry, I did not. Wow, I'm at the chat pulled up. Hey, how you doing, man? Glad you're able to stop in. I'm reviewing the Locust Lake timeline, so placing some dates on these stories. 2008, early winter, so right after leaving Lake, Leslie Chilton, the childhood bully of Jacob Treagle and the one responsible for Jacob's death, decides to return to the Black Woods near Locust Lake, to return to the area where he and his now deceased friends had murdered Jacob Treagle all those years ago. Jacob returns for his revenge, but Leslie flees in terror, where he finds 3 people riding snowmobiles. These 3 people meet their demise before Jacob and Casper Stoical turn their weapons on each other for unknown reasons. The 2 of them fall through the ice along with Leslie. Leslie is able to escape from the freezing waters of the lake, but only long enough for the hand of a woman for the hand of the woman of the water to drag him beneath the surface. Now that's a very interesting story. That's the cold heart of the Black Woods. That's the first time that Jacob and Casper ever actually met in a story. It's also where Jacob loses his t-shirt mask and gets his wooden mask finally. And it's also where we first introduced the woman of the water. So that story ended with a hand of a woman coming through the lake and pulling the monsters beneath the ice, but we didn't explain it until we came out with the origin story, which I've already talked about. It is the beginning of the timeline, but we didn't come out with that story until after the Cold Heart of Locust Lake to help explain what that was and just tie all these in together. So 2009, mid-spring, a crew is hired to clean up the camp after a rough winter. One of them is murdered, but at this time, only his severed arm is recovered. So that is the beginning of the Black Woods, just a gosh darn summer camp. And then 2009, midsummer, summer camp is open for business, and several children are attending camp at Locust Lake. Many people die, including a cabin full of children. There are a few survivors, including a little girl named Alyssa and a groundskeeper at the camp named Garrison. He was found almost completely paralyzed from the neck down next to the rotting corpse of the owner of the arm found 4 months prior. Now, again, that's all one story. You shouldn't be in the Black Woods, just a gosh darn summer camp. I fully intended to kill Garrison off, but one of the following stories, which we'll get to, self-help, we needed some survivors to come back. So Doughboy decided that Garrison actually survived his attack. So that wasn't revealed that he survived until a later story. Okay, that story hasn't come out yet, or we're going to get out of that. I haven't come out with that one yet. 2016, Todd Jacobs is wrongfully executed for the deaths at Locust Lake. Now, that, again, Todd Jacobs is something, especially for this new series that we're working on, The Legacy of Locust Lake. This story of Todd Jacobs from the Drowned Boy story, taking the blame for all these murders and being executed, is critical. It's important. So after that, 2017, Dr. Clark graduates from college and seeks out survivors of Locust Lake in an attempt to cure their trauma. The survivors in her study consisted of Shiloh, who survived Casper Stoical twice, Joseph, the boy Shiloh was babysitting, and survivor of the Halstead massacre, Natalie, whose husband Eric was murdered by Jacob Treagle after they had built the camp at Locust Lake, Rabob, who had survived several run-ins with the evils of Locust Lake over the years. Again, I'm just going to stop here. Rabob was supposed to die. He was supposed to die in the fire and leaving Locust Lake. He was supposed to burn to death in the bar. We kept bringing him back because everybody loves Rabob. he's a fan character. You guys have kept Rabob alive for as long as he was. And yes, I know that we killed him off and returned to Locust Lake. But you'll see. You guys will be happy in the future. No, he does not come back to life, but you'll see. Kimber Warren, an affluent daughter of the couple who were murdered by Casper in the RV at the beginning of Locust Lake. Cassie, a bartender who survived the fire at Rex's bar in Halstead, where Rabob was supposed to die. Garrison, the paralyzed groundskeeper of Just a Gosh Darn Camp, the guy that survived his very brutal attack. Alyssa, the little girl who survived the massacre at Just a Gosh Darn Camp, now a teenager around the same age as Joseph. She was the one who survived that story. By the way, if you guys haven't heard that story, that one is one of my favorite ones. It's an ode to Friday the 13th series. It has one killer in it, and the whole thing takes place at a summer camp. There's like 25 deaths, and there's a bunch of children burned alive. Like it's a good story. I suggest that you listen to it. It's one of my favorites. Same as Joseph. Akinifty Oniga manipulates the hidden personality within the mind of Sarah Clark, and Dr. Clark is born. A persona separate from Sarah, a persona that then emerges and kills everyone aside from Rabob, who is seriously injured, and Shiloh, who manages to escape by seeking refuge near the Native American burial mound near to the top of the mountain, an area that Dr. Clark is mysteriously forbidden from entering. Dr. Clark is then dragged away by Casper and Jacob, where she too is killed, becoming another monster of Locust Lake. So that is how Dr. Clark, the Freddy killer, the Freddy character, was born. And that story is self-help. That's all the survivors of the previous Locust Lakes coming together. So 2017, the next day, so this takes place immediately after. This is the curse of Locust Lake. Shiloh awakes in a cabin owned by the logging company that was tasked with cutting a path across the mountain to make room for new power lines. Loggers are protested by environmental activists that are trying to save the trees and conserve the land that once belonged to the Susquehannock tribe of Native American people. However, all of them aside from Shiloh and two other survivors, Ben, a logger, and Michael, an activist, do not survive. Jacob is somehow incapacitated. And then the next day after that, which is Breaking the Curse Part 1 and Part 2, all in one thing. If you like children being burned alive, just wait. Exactly. All right, so the Curse of Locust Lake. Breaking the Curse. Shiloh and Rabob, Ben and Michael all make it to the hospital alive, while the others are brought into the morgue in the basement to be autopsied, though it was pretty obvious what happened to all of them and who did it. One of the culprits lay on the autopsy table, Jacob Treagle. The monster awakes and retrieves his wooden mask, donning it with the help of surgical tubing. This is followed by the deaths of dozens of people, including patients, doctors, and even several police officers. The media is there to cover the massacre at the camp and now the massacre at the hospital. There is no covering it up this time. There is no scapegoat on live TV. That's Breaking the Curse Part 1, which leads into Part 2. Shiloh and her newfound friends return to Locust Lake to put an end to everything, finally realizing why Dr. Clark could not enter the clearing where the burial mound stood. The Native American legend of Akinifty Oniga, the woman of the water, separated from her daughter, all that she wanted was to be reunited with her child. Dr. Clark was being prevented from progressing any further because of the bones of the young girl that were laid to rest within the burial mound. The daughter had to be reunited with the mother at the lake. So that is what Shiloh set out to do. She managed to return the bones to the lake where the curse was broken with spectacular glory. However, Shiloh and Rabob would be the only survivors of that day. So they lost a few people on the way, but they broke the curse, and that was the end of Legends of Locust Lake. And then 2000, so that was 2017 next day. So 2025, and yes, by the way, these stories are already written to 2036 and beyond, just so they fit the timeline. The continuity has to make sense, but yes, we are in the future now. 2025, ownership of the camp reverts to the state because no one wants the property out of fear. There have been no incidents in the past 8 years, and the state decides to reopen the land under a new name once more. The cabins are rebuilt, refurbished, and refurnished, and the camp is reopened as Forest Trails State Park. So 2030, this is a return to Locust Lake. This past Halloween special. Forest Trails State Park is open to summer visitors. A large family is holding a reunion party at the park, and everyone is having a great time. Things are about to change, however, when a family dog playing fetch mistakenly retrieves a bone from the lake instead of the stick that was thrown, a bone that belonged to the young Susquehannock girl. Thus, the curse is reborn, and with an array of chaos, the evil returns with apocalyptic wrath and kills off everyone in its wake, including poor Ray Bob, whom had just gotten off the phone with an unknown person. The only survivors are a trio of young boys that had been at the reunion with their family. So, 2030, same month, actually picks up right after that story, is the next story. And I don't want to read that blurb because the next story that takes place right after that is Locust Lake Demon's Dozen. And it's the story that I just finished and is going to be coming out in 3 weeks. So that is where we are with the Locust Lakes right now. But the next story that comes out takes place right after Ray Bob died, right after he gets off while he was on the phone and got killed. Picks up right after that. So if you want to know who was on the phone, you want to know who comes back to fight the evil and all that stuff, make sure to tune back in for Locust Lake, the Demon's Dozen. So it is 10:26. I'm going to go ahead and read this chat a little bit, see if anything's been posted that I need to respond to, any questions anybody's asked, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to end it because it's been an hour, and yeah, I think we carried this through pretty well. So cool. All right. 2000. Hey, and it's not. I don't see scrambled. Oh, maybe 2032 is it? Yeah, it looks okay on my screen, Boggs, but I don't know. Maybe it's because of it's a phone. I don't know if Doughboy formatted this for phones or not. But yeah, I mean, it looks okay from my end. But like I said, this hasn't been updated in a while, and I don't. Oh, and it wasn't Boggs; it was Devane. Sorry about Devane. But yeah, I don't see it. I'm sorry. I was just kind of the B looked like, or the D looked like a B, and I thought you were Boggs, and now I'm really embarrassed, and I'm sorry. But yeah, at least on my end it looks okay. But this was put up a long time ago, and I don't even know because we're still fleshing some stuff out. There might even be some things that aren't wholly accurate anymore. Like nothing happened at the lake for 8 years. There is a story that takes place in between breaking the curse and a return to Locust Lake. It's not on the timeline, and that is actually part of the Locust Lake book, the one that's out right now. It's actually called Locust Lake Legends Epilogue: The Dirge of Locust Lake. There it is. Yeah, see, I'm on desktop too. Looks okay for me. I don't want to read it though because 2032 is it's getting into some later stories that were published on my old channel, but you won't see those stories for a while on this one, like at least a month or two. So I don't want to read them. But I could. It's on this end, it's okay. But I'll have Doughboy go ahead and take a look through this, just to make sure things are updated and stuff like that. But I really like this timeline that he put up. It really, really, really helped out some of the writing and re-uploading and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I don't think I'm missing anything. If I missed any questions or anything along those lines, please go ahead and post them in. I will go ahead and give it another minute, and then we'll go ahead and we'll end it. But I want to thank you guys like so much just for being here, just for showing up. Like seriously, it really means a lot to me. Especially live streams. I get really nervous with live streams, and I'm sure it probably shows through. I really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the support. Absolutely love you guys to death. And Beautiful Nightmare, thank you. I'm really, really glad you enjoyed this stream. Like I said, I'll give it another couple minutes. I'll go roll myself a quick cigarette, my last one for today. And after I am done with that, I will end the stream after I'm done puffing it down.
Do you know how to use the tray? Because it's everything's in the compartments.
Whew.
You're gonna need a lighter.
So good times. I know I liked this stream. I'm really happy I was able to share the Locust Lake timeline with you guys. That way, when you go through the series and you see like all these stories, like we really did try to follow like time frames, technology of the era, whether it be past, distant past, near future, stuff like that. Like
all the lore of Locust Lake.
Yes, it is all the lore. Shiloh's in the background. But it helps add substance, I think, to the series. It also helps with writing, keeping things in line with continuity. Awesome, man. I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed the stream. I really, really am. Like, seriously, thank you, Nightmare, Somber, Wrath, and Devane. All of you. I descrambled it on Notepad. Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. Well, I think Doughboy writes all this stuff on Notepad, so maybe that's why it just scrambles on Notepad so easy. I'm really glad you enjoyed the stream. ISB, I did actually quit smoking ISB. If you consider vaping quitting smoking, I've been vaping for like the past 4 years. The only reason I'm having a cigarette right now is because I need to change the coil of my vape, which is going to happen very soon. So I'm not sticking with this. And I know like vaping, like, yes, still can be bad for you. I actually believe in the studies that took place in Europe. American studies are biased, and the way they conducted those tests, like I've researched it, they're not credible. The European studies are credible. It's not good for you. Vaping's not, but it's 95% healthier for you than smoking cigarettes. And that I believe, because when I vape, I don't wheeze, I don't cough stuff up. I just feel a lot better. And I'm down to 3 milligrams of nicotine in my vape. So I am doing really well with it. Just need to change the coil because it, like I said, tastes like burnt gym socks. Need to change it. It's gross. But really, really happy you guys made it. Like I said, I'm just gonna sit here and finish this puff and answer anything else that comes rolling through. Hey, dog lover, stopped in for the stream. That's awesome. I don't know how long you've been here. I imagine that because I know, I get it. Probably a while. But yeah, I'm really, really happy you were here. I didn't know that you were here, so that's really cool. I'm glad you were able to make it. So awesome. No sorries at all, man. PA, you're perfectly fine, man. When I'm listening to people stream and stuff like that, like sometimes I've got it on in the background and I'm editing videos and making thumbnails and stuff like that. I'm a stickler for keeping to a schedule. I have not missed an upload in 6 years. I've always been on schedule. I've never said, hey, there won't be an upload today. Like I upload 3 weeks ahead of time for that specific purpose. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. Absolutely love you guys sincerely. Thank you so very, very, very much for coming. I'm really, really happy you guys stopped in. Really glad you guys enjoyed the story. Really glad you guys stuck around for the Locust Lake timeline. Like I said, just helps add some sustenance to the series because there's a lot of Locust Lake coming. There's about 13 more stories, probably more than that are already written that I haven't narrated yet or re-narrated yet. There's at least 5 that I never have, that I will, because the series is actually finished. Doughboy finished writing it. So there's a lot of Locust Lake on the way. So if you're clamoring for Locust Lake, it's coming. No more holding back, no more trickling it. This summer is the summer of Locust Lake. Absolutely love you guys. who are able to make it, and I will catch you on the next stream. I'll catch you on the Discord, and I'll catch you at tomorrow's premiere. Don't forget, Dreamscape Part 5, The Madness, the finale to the first series of Dreamscape. The second series is a trilogy, Return to Dreamscape, also written by Doughboy420, and the third series, the narrating portion of it, the part that I'll narrate, is also a trilogy written by me called Dreamscape Ouroboros. And then there's an exclusive epilogue to that series, and there's an exclusive prologue in the book that leads into all the stories. So there will be a book released very shortly. So really love you guys. I will see you guys next time, and I really hope to see you again tomorrow on the Discord, and we'll catch you then. Love you all. Bye-bye.